Hi everyone, yeah, come in, come in. Good to see you again. You're looking well. Get yourself a drink and a seat up front. We're going to get started. But before we do, I'm just going to make a quick correction to yesterday's show. I did say that shipping started in the 1600s, but that actually happened 200 years before that. The 1600s was just when the UK fleet was last as small as it is today. So with that, let's carry on with the show. Because yes, there is a show. It's all been happening and now you want to know. But before we can start, we must begin with hello. My name is Sean, your host and fellow. Now grab hold your beverage, your mind just as quick. We're building up for our best sip. So join me now for the greatest pleasure, where we unwind this world together. It's time now. It's time for the sip. Let's do it now. Let's do it quick. Go! Ah, yes, that's exactly what I ordered. Well, I wonder how stocks are doing. In the US, the S&P has hit record highs yesterday, closing at a new all-time high of 7,023. The main driver seems to be the Iran ceasefire, with rumours that it is progressing towards extending the ceasefire and resuming negotiations. The securing of the strait also means that supplies are flowing much more freely again, so I think that's having a positive impact on the markets. Other exchanges also reported strong performance, with the Nasdaq up 1.6%. This is also being supported by a huge increase in oil sales for the US. Last week saw a 25% increase in demand from the previous week. So that's fueled a strong rebound in the markets. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 is very up and closing at record highs as well, nearly breaking through the 60,000 barrier. China, meanwhile, has struggled a little bit more. They can't quite match the US and Japan. Shanghai Composite was essentially flat. CSI 300 was 0.34. They did seem to rebound from the news on Iran, but sentiment generally is pretty low at the moment. In the UK, the FTSE 100 was down 0.5%, but they did see some improvement in growth forecasts. The Office for National Statistics reported that the economy grew faster than expected at 0.5%. They even revised their January estimate to 0.1% growth, where it had been expected to be no growth up until that point. Growth for the year is still only expected to be 0.8%, down from the 1.3% predicted from the start of the year. Meanwhile, over in Hungary, Viktor Orban was ousted over the weekend by Peter Magyar. I spoke a couple of days ago about Peter Magyar's victory. Seemed very comprehensive. But he has been pretty quick to lay out his plans. Yesterday, he said he would be rejecting the EU Border Migration Pact. And he has plans to strengthen and maintain the southern border fence, which was built under Orban in 2015. He also aims for stricter immigration control than before. He has said that he wants to join the European Public Prosecutor's Office to investigate financial crimes and restore judicial independence. He also wants to establish a national asset recovery office to pursue those who plundered Hungary. He is promising more EU alignment, hoping to unlock 17 billion in EU funds that are earmarked for Hungary, but are currently frozen. He's also looking for some relief on the 1 million euros per day fines Hungary is receiving because of their immigration stance. And he's also considering adopting the Eurozone as well. So it is interesting to see him carrying on with a number of Orban's policies. It's doing this in spite of the Brussels pressure. Border security is a hot topic, so it's not really surprising that a centre-right politician would continue that. It's not going to make Brussels very happy, though, but Peter is talking about improving those relations, so we'll see what happens there. There's just not enough detail at the moment. He also went on state media to announce that he'll be shutting down the state media. It was quite an amazing clip, actually, because he spoke very calmly and purposefully about the propaganda that has been used against him. Apparently, he hadn't been allowed even or invited even to speak on public broadcast, which for a presidential candidate and one that is so strong Probably tells you everything you need to know about what's going on at the moment. The presenter at one point was trying to get in the way all the time, so he did ask not to be interrupted. And the presenter went on for about 5 seconds about how she would never possibly interrupt him. So things are happening there. It'll be interesting to see how they progress over the next few weeks, but it is quite remarkable. I'm sure there will be more to come. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, a massive barrage of missiles attacks from Russia. On Thursday, April 16th, Russian forces launched a massive overnight missile and drone barrage across Ukraine, killing at least 16 people, including a 12-year-old child in Kyiv, and wounding 118 others. Russia fired more than 650 and nearly 4 dozen cruise and ballistic missiles, according to the Ukrainian Air Force, marking one of the deadliest strikes this year, causing widespread residential and infrastructure damage. The Ukraine Air Defense neutralized 667 of the 703 incoming aerial threats, but 12 missiles and 20 drones struck residential areas, overwhelming rescue crews who pulled survivors from the rubble in Kyiv's Podilsky district. The UK is also supporting Ukraine. The UK is providing 120,000 drones, which is quite a lot, to Ukraine in what the Ministry of Defence has said is the largest delivery of its kind. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is also expected to announce further support measures for Ukraine later at a meeting of international finance ministers in Washington, D.C. This will consist of a £752 million payment to Kyiv, which is part of a wider £3.36 billion loan. Though Russia warns that drone plans for Europe are pulling Europe deeper into war. On Wednesday, Russia's defense ministry issued a stark warning. European governments' decision to ramp up drone production and supplies to Ukraine are pulling Europe deeper into the war with Russia. The ministry itself published a list of factories and enterprises across and including Britain, Germany, Spain, Italy, Poland and Israel, complete with addresses claiming that they manufacture drones or components for drones for Kyiv. It urged European publics to be aware of these sites are potential targets for Russian strikes. Former President Dmitry Medvedev, now Deputy Chair of Russia's Security Council, amplified the threat. When strikes become a reality, depends on what comes next. Sleep well, European partners. So yes, the war seems to be increasing at the moment, with more hardware going in, more strikes happening. So it's currently escalating. Scott Adams predicted this that the Ukraine would become the first hot drone war, and it just keeps playing out more and more. Meanwhile, a 50-year-old man called Andrew Pickering decided to rob a gas station in Austin by dropping through a hole in the ceiling. He ransacked the place, but when it came time to get away, he found that gravity had other ideas. CCTV caught him falling through the ceiling 4 times. The ladder would slip, crash, get up, try again and again. Eventually he gave up and just walked out the door, and maybe wondered why he didn't try that when the same thing on his way in as well. He left behind a trail of his own blood, making it very easy for the police to match his DNA, and he ended up in prison for 12 months. Durham police released the footage with a caption, "It's not about how many times you fall, but how many times you get back up," which is pretty damn hilarious. And so that brings me on to the end of my prepared notes, and to leave you with my final thought. But I really couldn't say a final word better than the Durham Constabulary. How many times you fall is simply an indication of how hard you are trying. How many times you get back up is an indication of how many times you will succeed. And with that, thank you very much. I wish you well, and I'll say see you later. Cheers.